Our walkarounds on our YouTube channel are nothing mundane at all. In fact, Jack and I look forward to them because we get to stand beside cars like this, which are brand spanking new. In this case, however, it's not just brand spanking new, it's like new, because it's the very first of its kind. This is the brand new, very first ever Mazda CX-60. And on today's walkaround, I'm gonna show you some of the really cool features that you can get with this automobile, including its price and availability by the end of this video. Now, first thing I'm going to tell you is that there are two variants available of the CX-60. There is this diesel and there is that gasoline variant. So the biggest changes between them obviously is the engine. Now, in this particular car, it produces roughly about 254 horses, and over in the gasoline, it produces 284 horses. But here's the big thing. The gasoline variant produces 450 Newton meters of torque, which is the same as that automobile right there, the BT50. Right in a gasoline engine car that is a crossover. This automobile, are you ready? Produces 550 Newton meters of torque. 550 in a crossover. How is that achieved? Well, come a little bit closer and I'll show you. It's the flex that you will find on the side, which is this. This automobile is an inline six. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, underneath the hood, you will find a 3.3 liter inline six-cylinder engine. When was the last time that a six-cylinder engine was introduced in a world where we're all talking about 4 cylinders, 3 cylinders, you're trying to be as fuel efficient as possible? Mazda is able to achieve this because even as a 6-cylinder, this is actually more fuel efficient than the current CX-5. How do you like them apples? Huh? Now, there's also a lot more to talk about on the exterior, so let's get through that very quickly before we get inside. So, up front, you'll notice that it's got a wing light, beautiful LED lights here, no fog lamps found down below because there is a bulb inside that does that. The grille is very different from the diesel to the gasoline. The diesel variant is more horizontal, while the gasoline, you'll see the slats are actually vertical. Unlike more Mazda automobiles, it's got sort of like a cut here in the center, the Mazda automobiles of today. Here, it's a bit more flushed. If Jack brings it out to the side, you'll see that it's much more flat. The ground clearance that you're looking at is more than that of a CX-5. In fact, the shape and the size of the automobile is much like a CX-5 in the sense that it is the same height, but it is a little bit longer in total length, and the wheelbase is a little bit longer, and that it's a little bit wider, and the ground clearance is a wee bit more. You'll notice, though, that the hood is definitely much longer because it needs to hold in that inline six. Wheels, these are 20s, wrapped in 50s, ventilated discs all around. This is also, I must mention, as you probably saw on the front plate, that it is a hybrid electric vehicle, which means that this has a 48-volt system that charges itself through regeneration and what other means necessary to be able to put that power back into the car itself. It doesn't regenerate through braking, but it does regenerate as the car decelerates, so that's very important.
And can I just say, the indicators on this car don't flash, they glow.
Moving on to the rear of the automobile. This, by the way, is an all-new color to Mazda, not the Soul Red Crystal, but the Rhodium White Premium. It is the whitest that Mazda can get, that includes the same technology as they have in the red paint, which makes it really bright. It won't tarnish and won't turn yellow under the sun. Well, that obviously remains to be seen. This thing is so white, Snow White's jealous. It makes dwarfs like me say, ooh, that white. This thing is as white as, you know what, Jack, learn when to stop me. Anyway, at the rear, the same between the gasoline and the diesel, including the exhausts. Now, these exhaust steps are actually very nice. I like them, they're flush, they're pretty. They actually remind me of a Range Rover Sport. But in reality, the exhaust is actually there. I think this is a missed opportunity. They could have at least used that. Okay, so, also, I want to point out, if you notice this particular portion right here at the rear, it kind of reminds you of the CX-30, which makes sense, because if you multiply that by 2, you get the CX-60. It's simple math. Open her up. The cargo load will definitely hold one balikbayan box without any issues whatsoever. In fact, you can even put overnight baggage left and right. That's with the tonneau, by the way, that'll close. Also, they wanted to make mention that in terms of comparing it to the CX-5, this is wider by 30 millimeters, which is nice. And this is a very flat lip, so loading heavier items is no issue whatsoever. I would like to step inside the automobile and quickly show you what it is, but let's go inside the diesel variant, shall we? Pretty swanky in the rear seats of the CX-60. The leather in the diesel option is brown with black trims in the center. Very, very nice. Good, very, very good quality leather. And then on the doors, I don't know if you can see this on the video, but on the doors, this is actually suede. So the last thing you ever want to put inside this car are my kids, because they will mess this up really, really bad. But the textures inside this automobile, it's nice. From the door to the good plastics, to the suede, to the leather on the seats, very nice. And then of course you've got the panoramic sunroof, which is just standard in a beautiful car like this. Okay, toys back here include 2 air vents, which is nice, so you don't have to fight over it. USB charging points in the form of Type-C. Very, very good, which means that should be fast charging. And then you've got a center armrest with cup holders. Also, this comes down so you have easy access to the rear. You've got ISOFIX tethers and of course belts for everybody. Doors on the pockets on the doors, yes, they look big enough to fit. They do look big enough for Jack's water bottle. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me. It's right there? I'll be right back. We're gonna do this gently. This is a brand spanking new car. Yee! Okay, Jack's bottle almost, no. But a normal size bottle, no issues whatsoever. So basically, what I'm trying to get at is anything that has to deal with Jack is a hassle.
Cut it.
No, don't cut that. Put that. Print it. Print it. Okay, so this particular area, we're gonna spend some time here because there's really a lot to talk about, but I hope to get through it very quickly. Let's start first with the fact that this is a 12.3-inch infotainment screen, okay? You also have a 12.3-inch instrument cluster, and then your heads-up display is 10 inches. Large for everything. I like the fact that this now is integrated a little bit better into the dash. Continuing with the dash, this is also suede. The touch is just very, very groovy, baby, very groovy, which is the same as you will find on the doors itself. The dashboard is very flat and wide and integrates itself very well. Even when you close the doors, it's shaped in a manner that looks very good and is much more pointed to the driver. That's very nice. Next, we get to the steering wheel, which has paddles on the rear and of course your buttons and whatnot for your driver aids and functions for your infotainment system here. The wheel on the diesel is very different in the sense that it's black on the outside and brown on the inside. In the gasoline version, it's all black really. This kind of reminds me somewhat of a Bentley or a Rolls really. I'm not too 100% on it. I guess it'll take some time, but we'll save that for when we do the behind the wheel. One of the coolest tech features that you will find inside the Mazda CX-60 is the facial recognition software in here. Now, it is there so that the car recognizes who the driver is. So whether it's Jack driving or I driving, it repositions everything back into wherever it is that you set it for. And I'm not just talking about the steering wheel or the seat or the mirrors. Even the settings that you put inside the car. So if you're talking about, let's say, for example, the bass or the treble of the audio, or if there's a particular driver assist that you want on or off, it switches that all on and puts it just for you. And then to start everything, I don't mean to backtrack, but to start everything, it's actually pretty cool because when you get inside the car, if you want Mazda to sort of like figure out the best driving position for you, it can. You just simply turn the system on, enter your height, and then it repositions everything in the manner that they think is best for you. That is pretty cool. More to talk about here. Your buttons and switches feel really, really good to the touch, and the knobs have a good feedback to it. You have your wireless charging here. You have your M Drive available. This is My Drive, which has normal, and then it's got sport, which will obviously hold everything a little bit tighter. And then it also has off-road. And of course, the function for towing in case you want to tow something else. But for the off-road, This is a car that the first crossover that Mazda has that has a function specifically for off-road. You have your electronic shifter found here, which is a trip really because it's not just forward and back. If I were to start the engine, you'll see that to get it out of park and into drive, I need to move it to the side and then down into drive. And then park will be up and to the left. It's actually pretty trippy. Also, while we're on the subject of the gear shifter, when I put it into reverse, they have a new function now called see-through, which is like you can see through the car as it's backing up into the spaces. It's very, very trippy and yet very, very useful. It's a lot more useful than it is for just the simple bird's eye view. I'm quite excited to try that out. Not like the other systems of Mazda before weren't good already. They just basically made it a little better. Also, I must make mention, much like the engine of this automobile and the car itself, the transmission, all of those things, the car, the engine, and the transmission are all brand spanking new, developed specifically to be an engine, a large engine that will fit the bill to be as fun as possible and yet be still as fuel efficient as possible. So it sometimes you think it might be daunting to hear it's a 3.3 liter, but actually it's built very, very well to be as fuel efficient as possible and to be as fun as possible. The ergonomics of the car have changed a little bit in the sense for the better. Jin Baitai is already good, but it's gotten better in the fact that, okay, first the transmission tunnel is actually a little bit skinnier, which means that your right leg actually feels more straight, so that you're not fatigued by driving it a little bit sideways. That's one. Second is the armrests on this car. In more often than not, in other cars, it's like one is higher than the other. This one, it's even, so it feels like you're sitting on a chair. And then there's the ergonomics of the commander knob itself, which is the same with other Mazda cars. But in this case, they have brought the commander knob closer to the armrest so you don't get carpal tunnel syndrome. Or what is it called again, Jack? RSI, which is repetitive strain injury. So that's nice, the fact that it's much closer and it really feels good too.
You wouldn't get it naman in the older cars.
No, you wouldn't, but it's just that you know what it feels like if you're on a mouse. It's really more relaxed here. And I must point out that I love the fact that there is zero piano black plastics inside this car. It's more like matte plastics, and it's nice because it won't leave fingerprints on it. That I love.
Thank you, Mazda.
Now, also to talk about the last thing about this car, which really makes it very, very different, let's step outside because I want to explain something. The CX-60 comes with a whole suite of advanced driver assist systems, from blind spot monitoring to what we showed you, which was the see-through reverse camera, including warnings that when you're about to get out of the automobile, it tells you if there's incoming traffic that might hit you if you open the doors, not just for the front passengers, mind you, but for the rear passengers as well. Apart from all those systems, it's also a very, very stable car, in the sense that, well, the all-wheel drive system on this car is biased 90% at the rear and 10% up front. But when it needs to, it balances off that very, very well. Then there's the fact that this thing was patterned after, well, the MX-5, which is to say that the balance of this automobile is almost, not exactly, but it's almost 50-50, with the fact that you have a biased rear transmission, or rather drivetrain, rear drivetrain, and then the engine is up front. So the balance of this car and the stability must be completely awesome. I'm saying must be because we actually haven't taken it out for a drive yet. Now, this very, very quick walk around was basically just to give you the simple facts that the Mazda CX-60 is definitely here and available in all Mazda dealerships and on AutoDeal starting right now when you see this video. That's one. Second is that there are two options. There is the turbo diesel all-wheel drive version, then there is the gasoline turbo version that's also all-wheel drive. The last thing that you probably want to know is the price. Well, as of filming, I actually don't know what the price is, but the editors are magicians and they're gonna do it right now. Hey, that's pretty trippy. What I wanna know from you guys is, do you think that price is well worth it for the all-new Mazda CX-60? Does it encroach in any of other Mazda products? And the big question is, if it's priced like that, would you consider any other car? That I would like to know. Thanks for joining us on this very, very quick walk around. Give a shout out to Mazda and tell them to give us this car as soon as possible. In fact, let's look at them right now. Can you guys give us this car as soon as possible? Is that yes? Yes? We got a yes. We got a resounding yes. I want to drive this thing bad, man.